Good evening, Black people and all allies fighting for Black liberation, Black prosperity, and Black joy. I'm Charles Blow, and welcome to Prime. Game-changing news captivated Washington today when it was reported that the Supreme Court Justice Stephen Breyer, the court's oldest member, plans to retire. This provided President Biden the opportunity to fulfill the historic promise he made to name the first Black woman to serve on the nation's highest court. The president will formally announce Breyer's retirement at the White House tomorrow, according to the New York Times. The White House press secretary confirmed earlier today that Biden intends to make good on his campaign pledge to nominate a Black woman.
The president has stated and reiterated his commitment to nominating a Black woman to the Supreme Court and certainly stands by that.
Since taking office, Biden has nominated a record number of Black female judges to the U.S. appeals courts. With 5 Black women already confirmed to the appeals courts by the Senate, Biden has a strong roster from which to choose. Among that list is Judge KETANJI Brown Jackson from the D.C. Circuit. She once clerked for Justice Breyer. As a former public defender, Jackson has already become a favorite among criminal justice reformers. She also served as vice chair of the U.S. Sentencing Commission when the commission dramatically reduced sentences for federal drug offenders. Outside the appeals court, California Supreme Court Justice LEONDRA KRUGER is also considered a frontrunner for the seat. KRUGER cut her teeth as one of the top lawyers in the Justice Department before joining the state Supreme Court at the age of 38 and has gained a reputation as a moderate incrementalist on the bench. There's also Judge J. Michelle Childs of the Federal District Court of Columbia, South Carolina. A graduate of the University of South Carolina Law School, Childs was recently nominated by Biden to serve on the appeals court for the D.C. Circuit. But her biggest endorsement comes from her representative, Jim Clyburn, the powerful House Democrat who revived Biden's campaign in 2020. The addition of a new liberal justice won't change the Supreme Court's 3-6 conservative majority, but in light of a recent Pew Research survey showing Biden's approval rating at a dismal 41%, the opportunity to nominate a barrier-breaking Black female justice could not have come at a better time for the president. Joining me now to discuss, Barbara Boxer, retired U.S. Senator from California, and Judith Browne Dianis, Executive Director of the Advancement Project. I want to start with you, Senator Boxer. I just want to first, before we get into who the replacement is, reflect on the legacy of Breyer. What do you think the legacy of Stephen Breyer is going to be from this court?
Well, I was honored to be able to vote for him at the time. And by the way, most people don't know this, but there was some controversy over Bill Clinton's options, and the women who were pro-choice really pushed hard for him. So that's really, most people don't focus on it, but I felt he lived up to that. Now, I think his legacy is he tried so hard to find the sweet spot to move this country forward. And obviously it got harder and harder. But Charles, if I could just take 1 minute to talk about how incredibly historic this is. Because our first Supreme Court met in 1790, and it took till 1967 to get our first African-American on the court, the great Thurgood Marshall. That was Johnson did that. Then it was not until 1981 that we got our first female, and that was Ronald Reagan who did that, Sandra Day O'Connor. And then President Obama, who got our first Hispanic, and now 232 years later, our first African-American woman will be nominated and I believe confirmed.
Judith, who do you think that nominee is going to be? There are so many strong contenders out there, and people have been floating at contenders all day. Who do you think is the strongest contender right now?
Well, it's hard, Charles, to say who, because there are a plethora of Black women who should be on the Supreme Court. And so we do have those who have been confirmed. And I think part of this is going to be a political calculation for the White House, because the people that you ran through, those 5, have been confirmed. So they know they can maybe get the votes, most likely get the votes to get them through. I don't think that that will be a problem. And they'll have to remind a few Republicans perhaps, or they can actually remember this is the first time that we get to advance somebody without having a majority. So we don't need 60 votes actually. So that's important. But I really want to make sure that we don't rush to say, here's the 5, here's the top one, because there are also women who may not be sitting in the federal judiciary who should be on the Supreme Court. So one of the names that's been floated is Charlotte Eiffel, who's the president and director counsel of the NAACP Legal Defense and Educational Fund. I mean, there are other people like Deborah Archer, who is the president of the board of the ACLU. There are many of us Black women who have been out here doing the God's work in the law. And we really do need someone who has a civil rights background, because remember, we lost so much when we lost Justice Marshall.
Senator Boxer, how hard would that be? You know, I think Judith makes a great point, but how hard would it be to pick someone who's been in an advocacy role now that you live in the age of Twitter, when you have a whole track record of all the things, the positions you've taken? They would drag every one of those tweets out and put them on a big board at Kinko's and put them over their shoulder, and they discuss each one of them as if they were the worst thing that ever happened. That is different from what most judges have, which they don't have that kind of social presence. They have their opinions are basically confined, to the most part, to their decisions. How hard would it be to choose someone who's not actually on the bench right now?
I think the best way I could answer it is this. 50 votes plus Kamala Harris. And so if you find someone who may not get 54 votes, but they could get, 51 votes, and the point is well made about someone who has been in the trenches fighting for civil rights. That's a very good point. The answer is, the Senate has to advise and consent. I remember when I was there and I had the privilege of voting on, I think, 6 of the justices that are still there. Some I did not vote for, let me be clear. But the bottom line is the Senate has to be respected. Who understands that more than anyone? The president. So he's got to go to the people where there may be an issue or two and make sure that he has the votes before he puts the name up. I think that is critical. And I'm sure they know that.
Right. Judith, 2 of the contenders, both Judge Brown Jackson and Justice KRUGER, clerk for Supreme Court justices. Does that give them a leg up in this consideration in any way?
It does give them a leg up. I mean, there are traditional qualifications, and those traditional qualifications are really one of the reasons that Black women are not on the Supreme Court and why we haven't been in the federal judiciary, because those traditional qualifications have been reserved for white men mostly, and then for white women. So the track record is basically you have to go to an elite school, like one of the Ivies, like Yale or Harvard or Columbia, and then you should clerk. You should be on a law journal, law review, which is hard to get on also. That's been reserved mostly for white folks. And then after that, you want to clerk for a judge, a federal court judge, and then a Supreme Court judge. And so that's the track, that's the path. And so these Black women have made it through that path, and that does make them highly qualified for the job. But again, there are so many other women that may not have had that path that are also qualified to be on the Supreme Court and would bring an important voice to the really important conversations. Because remember, what we have before us is abortion, voting rights. The Supreme Court is getting ready to take up affirmative action again. And so we have really important issues that Black people need to be weighing in on. And it's also important that we remember that race and gender and the law have been inextricably woven together through from the beginning of this country. And so having a Black woman on the court is going to make a difference, even if it means that we are still in the minority, because a strong dissent's important. And one day we are going to have the majority again.
Senator Boxer, we've only had 2 Black people on the Supreme Court, both men, but both of their confirmation hearings were incredibly contentious. I think before Thurgood Marshall, no candidate had ever been asked more than 100 questions. Thurgood Marshall was asked over 500 questions during this confirmation hearing. Every Southern senator wanted to get on the record saying how much they were upset about integration. Then you had Clarence Thomas, contentious for a whole other reason. Do we think that this third black person might also face that same sort of elevated opposition?
I would pray not. I have made some bad predictions on your show before, and I feel very nervous about this one, but I would really hope not, particularly if it is a safer pick. And by that, I mean someone who, as has been noted, has gone through, out of the great colleges and the law schools and the clerkships and the rest of it. But I would hope not. I think the Republican Party, the party of Lincoln, not, is in big trouble. I do want to say on Clarence Thomas, it was Anita Hill versus Clarence Thomas. So on that one, I think the questions were appropriate. I have to say that because the only reason, frankly, I made it to the Senate was Anita Hill and her brave battle to call attention to sexual harassment. So I think that one was different, but I would just pray not, because the Republicans have been awful on voting rights. They've just been terrible. And on affirmative action and all these things. Maybe they can just get themselves together and do the right thing now, because this is a moment in time that, is very important. I was interested to learn this evening that Ronald Reagan, when he put Sandra Day O'Connor on, he had made that commitment during his campaign because the women were very angry because he turned his back on the ERA. And so Joe Biden made that commitment, and he is carrying it out, just like Ronald Reagan. So they can't say, well, this is all, politics. You made this commitment because Reagan did the same thing,
Barbara Boxer, thank you so much for joining us as always. Judith Browne Dianis, I'm throwing your name into the hat just for good measure. Maybe that'll work out. Thank you both for joining me tonight. I really appreciate it.